Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/AmITheDevil for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the posts, giving you my own opinion, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Cross posted from r/relationship advice. What is the best way for me, 39 male, to reach out to my son, 17 male? A long time ago, I made a very irresponsible choice and got my child's mother pregnant at a very young age. I knew I was not ready to be a parent physically, mentally, or financially. We came up to a deal where I gave her a one-time check from the savings my parents had given me, and I would sign away all rights and responsibilities. Now my parents are still in my son's life and see him often, and I eventually got remarried and had a kid of my own. My daughter is my precious jewel. Recently I was talking to my dad and found out my son is a high school football star and is getting recruited by D1 schools. Mostly FCS, but still, that's amazing. I wish he said something earlier. As my son enters his senior year, I want him to have a big year, so he maybe gets recruited by bigger schools. My dad is being weird about arranging a hangout / giving me my son's number, and so I'm thinking of reaching out directly. I couldn't find him on Facebook, but found his Instagram, just waiting for him to accept my request. So, from what I understand, you were not in your son's life, but your parents were. You had a daughter, and even after having the daughter, refused to enter your son's life. But you only had an interest in your son's life when you figured out that he was a football star and might get selected to play college football and potentially play football professionally in the NFL down the line. Is that what I'm picking up on? You only have an interest in entering your son's life because he has the chance of being a football star? That kind of sucks, dude. Like, you gave up your son when you were 22, so it's not like you were a teen parent, and now you're only having an interest, and your parents see right through you because of their hesitation to give you any contact information, but you can't see the fact that you're being extremely transparent. And I wouldn't be surprised if your son doesn't accept the Instagram request, because you gotta remember, he's had, no contact with you. He doesn't know who you are. And all of a sudden, he's now getting a friend request from some 39-year-old man on Instagram. And yeah, sure, there's a really good chance that, OP's parents did tell their grandson at least a little about his father. But still, imagine his reaction when he finds out that you have your own daughter now and she's the jewel of your life. And the fact that, in a sense, you kind of sold your son. So don't expect there to be any relationship being built, because you're being transparent as hell, my dude. Cross-posted from r/AmITheAsshole. Am I the asshole for accusing a girl about lying about her ethnicity / parents? So, I work with this girl who, for a lot of reasons I dislike. She's very rude and snobby, and regardless, I've avoided her and never had any personal problems. For context, this girl looks Native American / Mexican. She has a slight tan with long black hair. I never asked her about her ethnicity as I thought it was obvious. This happened in January. My job was having a big New Year's party and parents were invited. My folks live out of state, so they didn't come. However, my coworkers did, and I was shocked. Her father is a dark-skinned Cambodian and her mother is black. Yet, she's way lighter than both and doesn't look black or Asian at all. I just assumed she was adopted, but she's telling people they're her biological parents. I asked her how when she's 10 shades lighter than both and doesn't have curly hair or look Blasian. I knew someone that was adopted and lied about their ethnicity, so I assumed this was the same situation. She got extremely upset and said it's possible to be lighter than both parents, but I've never witnessed that in my life. I accused her of lying, and she reported me to my manager and told me to drop it. Now all of our other coworkers are calling me an asshole. Am I? Yes. While it can be uncommon, it is very much possible for someone to be born to two dark-skinned parents and have lighter skin than both of them. Remember that little thing in middle school called the Punnett Square, where it can help us identify and understand how dominant and recessive traits can look or express themselves? Yeah, that's what that is. It's just a ton of coin flips that just happen to leave your coworker looking lighter than both of her parents. That's all it is. You just admitted to everyone you never paid attention in school. And rather than Googling to see if it's true, because I personally never witnessed it, so therefore it can never happen. Dude, that's like saying I've never been to Florida, so therefore Florida doesn't exist. And like, yeah, no shit she got upset. You literally told her, you don't look black enough to be your parents' child, therefore I think you're lying. Also, like, I love the first paragraph where you're like, she's very rude and snobby, but regardless, gonna go into that a little bit, or you just gonna call your female coworker rude and snobby and not even begin to explain how or why? It'd be cool to get some context or examples so it doesn't come across as if you're just berating your female coworker because you don't like their attitude or personality. That'd be poggers. But no, instead we have someone who can't begin to comprehend why their manager or their coworkers are upset with them for telling someone they're lying about who their biological parents are. Because they, checks notes, don't look black enough. Cross-posted from r/AmITheAsshole. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter to get over herself? My husband said to post this here because he likes to read this sub and thinks people here give good opinions. I'm 50 female, daughter is 26 female. She's getting a PhD and is the first in our family to go to college, let alone grad school. We were talking on FaceTime and she mentioned she was meeting with an advisor to talk about submitting an application for a grant to go to Germany for 2 weeks in the summer. I said it sounded awesome, especially since I'm half German, making her part German as well, and that I've always wanted to see Germany, so maybe I could come out with her and make it a girls' trip. She said that it's not a vacation. If I go, I'm going to be teaching and researching and networking the entire time I'm there. I said she can do that during the weekdays and that we can go out to dinner in the evenings and then go sightseeing on the weekends. She said it's already a very cramped amount of time. 2 weeks in Europe? Cramped? And that she wants to spend her free time networking with other academics there and making connections at the university. I said I'm happy to also meet the academics, and she said it wouldn't work like that, and she'd look childish bringing a parent to all of the events with her. At this point, I was feeling completely tossed aside, like I'm not good enough to be around her academic life and academic friends, like she would be embarrassed to have me around. So I said, you need to get over yourself and quick, because all of these academics aren't going to be the only people you meet, and not everyone loves her unconditionally to put up with such annoying and elitist talk. She just said, okay, and hung up. My husband was upset with me, that's why he made you post it here, because now she's being short with us, but I know he's also annoyed at her constantly going to all these research trips and conventions. A Hawaii trip, a Seattle trip, a DC trip, and whenever we say we want to come with her, and we're not even expecting to be paid for, we pay for it ourselves, she says she won't have time, completely blowing us off. So since my husband apparently now thinks I'm an asshole and my daughter clearly does, I figured I'd ask here. So my impression here is that OP doesn't understand that this is a work trip through and through. It is 2 weeks of just a constantly packed and crammed schedule that involves her not only just doing work for the university, but also trying to network and build communications which will help her professional life down the line. And because OP has admitted that their daughter is the first in their family to not only go to college but also pursue grad school, they're missing a lot of the context for this trip and just kind of assuming that it's a fun trip or a play trip, and not that it's a work trip and is going to be crammed and busy as hell. And there's also the added fact that they just do not believe their daughter. Well, surely there's some time for you to fit in for us. And if not, you just need to get over yourself. In addition to that, yeah, it is pretty fucking embarrassing to go on an academic trip as a 26-year-old and have your mom tagging along with you. It's not that she's embarrassed to introduce you to the academic, it's that she is embarrassed for herself to have her mother tagging along while she's meeting work professionals on a work trip. Like, imagine if you were going to work and you brought your mom along to talk to your boss. That's fucking embarrassing. And in addition, this isn't going to be a girls' trip. It's just going to be work, networking, making sure that they're securing a future with the university. And yeah, 2 weeks in Europe that are going to be cramped. She's being short with you because you don't respect her profession and can't seem to understand that she doesn't want you to tag along when she's going to places not to relax for vacation, but for work. Listen to your daughter and listen to your husband. Cross posted from Am I the Asshole? Would I be the asshole? Public. Am I the asshole for invalidating my future daughter-in-law because she didn't come to a family vacation last minute? My son David got engaged to Jenna last year. They're both 27. They've been together for a little over 3 years. She's a nice girl, a little more reserved than I would have expected, but there hasn't been much issues. Except with my advice/help being discarded by Jenna, as in not wanting financial help for the wedding, planning, etc. But fair enough, she seems to take pride in being independent since she was 17/18, but I just feel sorry for her, rather than admire that. Anyways, to make a long story short, we had a family vacation to Hawaii last weekend. This has been planned for almost 2 months. It was fully paid by my husband and I. My other sons, their wives, and my husband and I all went. I get a call from David 2 days before the expected flight saying that they can't make it because Jenna isn't feeling well. I figured it was because she has anxiety, because she's completely estranged from her family and is very private. All these years later, and I've yet to meet her parents, but she claims she doesn't speak to them, so she sometimes gets uncomfortable with big amounts of family things. He said it wasn't that. I didn't text her about it. I just continued to talk to David about when he stopped over after work. He got upset I kept pestering him, so I dropped it. On vacation, I made a comment to my son's wife about how I'm disappointed they couldn't make it. We all had a few to drink, so I'm sure my tone and what I said got all dramatically skewed. She ends up telling somebody else, and it somehow gets back to David and Jenna. I invited them over for dinner when we got back, and they didn't go. I asked why, and Jenna told me, because she had a chemical pregnancy and wasn't feeling well. I wasn't sure what that was, so I kind of didn't answer for a while because I was shocked, since I didn't know she was pregnant. I researched it, and it said it's such an early miscarriage that it's not even considered one. It's like being on your period. I feel like she could have came instead of us wasting money. My son told me that she was emotionally devastated and her legs and stomach are cramping. She told me that I was invalidating and she's upset, but she didn't tell me at first why she wasn't going. Fuck you. And then tries to make it seem like she wasn't having a bigger medical emergency. It just makes me feel like my efforts to include her and give her a good family to marry into isn't being taken into consideration. You invalidated your daughter-in-law's miscarriage even after learning what it was and just chalked it off to being a heavy period. There is still a shit ton of hormones and chemical emotions and just so much shit going on at that point that just simply chalking it off to a heavy period is extremely fucking reductive. If you want her to feel included in the family, then actually act like you care about her and not being so upset that she couldn't make it to the trip because she was dealing with a fucking miscarriage that she was probably still grieving over. But no. The money is what's important here. I could probably think of 10 different reasons as to why she wouldn't want to tell you right before your trip to Hawaii that she had a miscarriage. Sure, it's not technically a miscarriage, but it's still going to bring pain, cramps, a lot of blood, and a lot of shit that isn't going to be fun to deal with. And on top of that, you're going to still have the emotions that are going to flood with it as well. And the thing is, you learned that while Googling it. But you focused on ways to be reductive towards your daughter-in-law than actually being supportive and being the mother-in-law that you want to be, which is one that is apparently going to be a good family for her to marry into. And also, rolling back to the comment that you made about having a few too many drinks and mentioning that you made a comment to your son's wife about how you're disappointed they couldn't make it. If you had just simply left it as, I'm really disappointed that they weren't able to make it, I don't think they would then turn around and tell everyone what's going on, and it would end up getting back to your son and your daughter-in-law about your comment that you made. My guess would be, this is a nice example of missing reasons, and you said some pretty vile shit. A simple comment about being disappointed someone's not on a vacation because they had to cancel last minute doesn't normally end up getting back to them as negative news. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, it sucks that you probably spent a ton of money on a trip to Hawaii for your daughter-in-law and your son. But the thing is, most people don't fucking cancel a trip to Hawaii over nothing. And I get the impression from the way that this post is structured from start to finish and the fact that OP is writing this with all information present in this post, that your first assumption was not, yeah, she didn't want to go because of the chemical pregnancy. Instead, you tried to bury the lead with the fact that since she was 17 or 18, she's been independent from her parents and tried to spin that. as that making her socially anxious to be on a trip in a large family setting. And you didn't actually mention the real reason why she couldn't go on the trip until literally 7 paragraphs in. It's also extremely telling and about to be pretty ironic that OP can't even comprehend the idea of a child not being in contact with her parents. But you're about to learn. The thing is, I fucking know when you tell your friends this story, you don't include the miscarriage. You only include that she's socially anxious about her parents. You don't talk about what actually happened. And in time, you're gonna become the textbook case of missing reasons. Like, hot fucking damn, this is literally a reverse POV of a mother-in-law from hell. Good lord. Cross-posted from r/AmITheAsshole. Am I the asshole for just liking my coffee the way I like it? Put your bets in if the post has nothing to do with the coffee being the way he likes it. I live near a coffee shop that operates from a cart. They're a tiny shop with usually one person on, but sometimes two. Their cart is on the property of a restaurant, and is owned by the restaurant, but slightly different. And I'm not a fan of the restaurant, but the cart coffee is honestly some of the best I've ever tasted. They run from 8 to 3, or so, but it usually suits me to come around 2:50 to 3, but occasionally much earlier. Today, I came just at 3 and saw the barista was still serving, so I hopped in the queue with a large group of women following behind me. As she started steaming the person in front of me's drink, she announced to the queue that they could order the coffee from the restaurant because the cafe was no longer serving past 3. Bear in mind, it's 3:01-ish, and I had probably been in the queue right at 3, if not a few seconds before. Let me preface by stating the restaurant coffee is just not good. They say it's the same, but it's made by the waitstaff, not baristas, and it really isn't what I'm there for. I also am very health conscious and was mindful of going into a restaurant during a pandemic just to order a coffee. The woman behind me must not mind because they went into the restaurant, but I figured I'd ask for my usual. The barista turned around to finish serving the person ahead of me and didn't even look at me. Bear in mind I know her since I come here a lot. She knows my usual, always smiles and chats, and I've even asked her for some treats as she was locking up once. And she said she had wrapped them up for the night a while ago, but was extremely apologetic and remembers to offer me treats every time. When the person left, she finally looked at me. I ordered my usual and she repeated, "I'll just ask if you could order inside since I've got to close up out here." I asked if she'd make an exception since I'm COVID conscious, and she said just this once, but seemed off. I thanked her again for serving me, and she said no worries. But as she was closing up, I was sitting in their outdoor area on my laptop, and she would not look or smile at me as she usually does, and was barely looking my direction, even though it was like 3:05 by the time she made my order. 2 minutes later than if I hadn't ordered. I know what people say about going to a place at closing time, but I was in the queue just in time. I think she would have happily made the exception for me if it weren't for the group behind me, and she only asked us all to go because there were 3 or 4 of them. And I'm just wondering if I'm missing something because she acted happy to serve me 1 minute, but was then colder than usual. Too long didn't read, I asked a familiar barista if she'd serve me past close, 2 minutes, because the alternative meant I'd have to go inside during a pandemic and order worse coffee. I was in the queue in the nick of time, and at first she resisted, but after a big please, relented, but then seemed much colder than usual while closing as I sat nearby on my laptop. Bubblegums, the user responsible for cross-posting this to r/AmITheDevil, adds some additional context. Also, because it's pretty buried, here's his response to people calling him out on asking for a treat. "Oh, I wanted to clarify I fully intend to pay for those treats, but she had done the tills and put them away. I only asked because she still happened to be there, leaving at like 3:45-ish. I realized that was a long shot, but just thought it was worth asking and wanted to highlight that she remembers me and was very apologetic about that situation." LOL. She was very apologetic about not having treats for him 45 minutes after closing. It is crystal clear that OP has never worked in the service industry for a single minute with the way that he's acting about this. I remember when I was working just in like fast food and just dealing with my first job, there were customers that would become regulars and build up a repertoire with the front crew, and eventually they thought they could get some special privileges, showing up later and later until eventually it was past closing, and hoping they would still be able to get their meal, despite it being past closing and a lot of the machines being off. It was annoying because we had to play nice and we had to act like everything was fine, which probably further emboldened their behavior, and you just grow to resent those customers because they feel like because they're frequently at that restaurant or coffee shop or wherever that they deserve special privileges. It's crazy that after OP is told to go inside because they're closing up, that he has the audacity to then sit there and plead and beg for her to stay open longer, keep all the machines still running, to get the coffee made, and is now wondering, why is she mad at me after I begged her to stay open? Why is she mad at me after I wanted a treat after 45 minutes of them being closed and it was previously wrapped up? I guarantee the coffee stand people hate OP. Cross posted from r/AmITheAsshole. Am I the asshole for not defending my girlfriend's son when my kids accused him of being a liar, even though I suspected he was telling the truth? I've been with my girlfriend for 2.5 years, and we moved in together about 2 months ago. Her son Elias, 5, lives with us the majority of the time, but he goes to see his dad during the school holidays and sometimes more depending on what the ex wants. I had never met her ex until a week ago. My kids, Matthew 10 and Sophia 7, divide their time 50-50 between my house and my ex's. My girlfriend's ex is a textbook Disney dad. I don't say anything because it's not my place, but when I first found out about the things Elias did when he was with his dad, I was concerned it would cause jealousy among the kids. For the most part, things have been fine since Elias doesn't really brag, and he usually brings up his dad to my girlfriend. Elias went through a phase where he was obsessed with fish/sea life. My girlfriend's ex got him a huge fish tank when he found out, which is cool of him. Then in August, he took Elias on a 2-week trip. Again, that was cool of him. A week or so after Elias got back from the trip, I'm watching all of the kids while my girlfriend runs some errands. Elias won't stop talking about how he swam with the fish. Matthew tells him he's lying, and the kids get into an argument. It ends with Elias crying, but I was able to calm him down before my girlfriend got back, and I told Matthew to apologize. Matthew and Sophia started purposely excluding them and claimed their mother told them they shouldn't be friends with liars. My girlfriend gets upset, but puts it down to them going through a phase since she's never heard them call Elias a liar. I have a word with my ex and the kids, and things go back to normal. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago, and my ex shows up at our house to have a word with my girlfriend about Elias's continued lies. Apparently, he's been telling the kids about all of the other stuff he's been doing with his dad since the fish incident, and both kids are upset because they think he's still making stuff up to make them jealous. After my ex leaves, my girlfriend is fuming at me. She asks me what happened and gets angry at me for not defending Elias when I knew it was likely true. Then she broke up with me and said she was moving out because she wasn't going to be that parent who put a man before her child. I would have apologized, but then she shows up a week ago with a few people to help her move out, including her ex. He's a complete asshole to me, and my girlfriend just ignores me the whole time. Your ex-girlfriend. I'm thinking about apologizing still because I want to fix our relationship, but I want to know if I'm the asshole or not first. Am I the asshole? Remember, Elias was 5, Matthew is 10, and Sophia is 7. Elias does not have the social intelligence to understand when something comes across as bragging or just excitement of something cool that happened to you. He's 5. The kid's just excited. And yeah, OP is 100% the asshole for allowing this wedge to be driven between Elias and his kids, as well as the fact that his girlfriend had no idea this was really going on until his ex showed up at the front door to confront his girlfriend's son about all of the quote-unquote lies because he never stepped in once just to tell them, no, Elias is telling the truth and he's not a liar. The only kind of assertion that we have that he tried to, essentially tell his kids to knock it off was that he told Matthew to apologize. And considering this was written after the relationship fell apart, because Matthew and Sophia were bullying Elias over things they perceived as lies and OP never bothered to correct it, I feel like if he specifically told Matthew to apologize because Elias wasn't lying, that would have been stated. Instead, we have the vague notion of an apology as a sentence conjunction that's slapped onto the end of a longer sentence. 5 words. That's all we have for potential evidence that he tried to get his kids to apologize for the lying, but did not explicitly state that's what they were apologizing for. And I feel like in an instance like this, when you're going to the internet trying to see if you're the asshole or not, you would bring up any possible example you possibly could about what you tried to do to prevent the events from happening, which he did not. What he did do was stand around idly while his kids were accusing Elias of being a liar, to the point where Elias broke down crying. Also, good on the girlfriend for putting her kid first, that's awesome. Now, tinfoil hat theory. And this stems from the, which is cool of him. Again, that was cool of him. There's a tinge of jealousy to that. My personal tinfoil hat theory is the reason why he never actually stepped in is because he's jealous of what his girlfriend's ex does for his son, and he can't do those things for his kids. So therefore, he doesn't correct it. He would rather them believe that Elias is a liar than for them to believe that Elias is getting better treatment from his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. That's my tinfoil hat theory. I think the correction just simply never happened because of his own personal jealousy. Cross posted from r/AmITheAsshole. Am I the asshole for refusing to apologize when I was technically in the wrong? My mother-in-law is married to a man who was born in Iran, and they go once or twice a year to see his family. They have a daughter who turned 13 the other day, and mother-in-law wished her a happy birthday on social media. She included a couple of pictures, and in one of the pictures, mother-in-law and her daughter were both wearing head coverings. That bothered me. Sister-in-law absolutely has the right to wear one, but mother-in-law is white. I feel like she was using it as a fashion statement, and kind of showing off. I sent her a private message that I felt like she was appropriating her husband and daughter's culture, and this was her reply. Their culture? You mean the culture of not wanting to go to jail because it's illegal in Iran for a woman not to have her hair covered? Yeah, I suck for not wanting to get arrested, and my husband is Jewish, dumbass. So that isn't even his culture. Fucking unbelievable. Okay, I looked into it, and she is right. She was following a law, and it is a religious thing, not just an Iranian thing. My husband says I should apologize, which I find ironic because she doesn't even like his mother. I said I would only apologize for my mistake if she apologized for how incredibly rude and condescending her reply was. Ah, yes, I love the logic of, I won't apologize for how I wronged you until you apologize about how you reacted when I wronged you. Then we can maybe work things out. But I'm not going to apologize until you apologize for your reaction. Also, love the notion of the fact of, yeah, my husband doesn't even like his mother, so I don't even know why he wants me to apologize. Like, your husband's just a decent person. Just because he has problems with his mother doesn't mean he can't see the fact of when she's been wronged, and would like you to apologize for the mistake that you made. Your husband's just a good person, and just because he dislikes someone doesn't mean he lets that get in the way of actually treating them like a person. Also, I fucking hate that title because you're not technically in the wrong. You are just fundamentally wrong. Not technically, you are actually 100% incorrect. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.